Match fixing refers to the illegal practice of influencing the outcome of a sporting event through bribery or other means. The goal of match fixing is typically to profit from gambling on the predetermined outcome of the event. There are several ways that match fixing can occur. One of the most common methods is for a team or individual player to intentionally lose a match in exchange for money or other incentives. This can be accomplished through a variety of means, such as throwing a game, intentionally playing poorly, or even deliberately injuring oneself or another player. Another form of match fixing is known as spot fixing. Spot fixing is a form of match fixing that involves manipulating specific events within a sporting match, rather than the outcome of the entire match. These specific events, or spots, are typically predetermined and may include things like the number of runs scored in a cricket match or the number of corners in a soccer match. Spot fixing is often done for the purpose of gambling, as it allows individuals to place bets on specific events within a game, rather than on the overall outcome of the game. Spot fixing is considered to be a more subtle form of match fixing, as it can be difficult to detect. Unlike match fixing, where the outcome of the entire game is predetermined, spot fixing only involves manipulating specific moments within the game. This means that the players involved in spot fixing may not be aware that they are participating in illegal activity, as they may be focused on performing well in the specific moments that have been predetermined to be manipulated. Spot fixing can have serious consequences for both the players involved and the sport as a whole. For the players involved, spot fixing can lead to severe penalties, including fines, suspensions, and even criminal charges. For the sport, spot fixing can lead to a loss of credibility and a decrease in public trust. In some cases, it can also lead to a decline in viewership and attendance at sporting events. There have been several high-profile cases of spot fixing in recent years, including the Pakistani cricket spot fixing scandal of 2010, in which several Pakistani cricketers were found guilty of taking bribes to manipulate specific events within matches. In soccer, there have been several cases of spot fixing, including a case in Italy in 2011, in which a number of Italian soccer players were arrested for their involvement in a spot fixing ring. To combat spot fixing, sports organizations have implemented a number of measures, including increased monitoring of betting patterns, stronger penalties for those found guilty of spot fixing, and education programs for players and coaches on the dangers of match fixing and spot fixing. Additionally, many sports organizations now have integrity departments that are responsible for investigating and addressing any suspicions of spot fixing. Match fixing is considered to be a serious problem in the world of sports, as it undermines the integrity of the game and can lead to a loss of trust and credibility among fans, players, and other stakeholders. It can also lead to financial losses for those who have placed bets on the outcome of the fixed match. To combat match fixing, many sports organizations have implemented strict rules and regulations and have established organizations dedicated to investigating and preventing match fixing. These organizations may use a variety of methods to detect and prevent match fixing, such as monitoring betting patterns, conducting background checks on players and officials, and interviewing those involved in the match. In addition to these preventative measures, there are also several legal and criminal penalties for those found guilty of match fixing. These can include fines, imprisonment, and lifetime bans from participating in the sport. Despite these efforts, match fixing continues to be a significant problem in the world of sports. This is due to a variety of factors, such as the large sums of money involved in sports betting, the relative ease of fixing a match, and the lack of oversight and enforcement in some countries. It is important to note that match fixing is not limited to any particular sport or country. It can happen in any sport, at any level, and in any country. It is a global problem and requires a global solution. To truly address match fixing, it is essential for sports organizations, governments, and other stakeholders to work together to create a comprehensive and effective strategy. This should include measures to increase transparency and oversight, as well as efforts to educate and raise awareness among players, officials, and fans about the dangers and consequences of match fixing. In order to ensure the integrity of these bets and the fairness of the odds, sportsbooks must have systems in place to detect and prevent odds manipulation. One of the primary ways that sportsbooks can detect odds manipulation is by monitoring and analyzing betting patterns. This involves keeping track of the number of bets placed on a particular outcome, the amount of money wagered, and the location of the bets. Suspicious patterns, such as a sudden influx of bets on an unlikely outcome or a large number of bets placed on the same outcome from a single location, can indicate that odds manipulation is taking place. Another way that sportsbooks can detect odds manipulation is by monitoring for unusual movements in the odds themselves. Odds can change for various reasons, such as changes in the weather or the performance of a particular team. However, if the odds change suddenly and without explanation, it may be an indication of odds manipulation. Sportsbooks can also use data analytics to detect odds manipulation by analyzing data such as the number of bets placed, the amount of money wagered, and the location of the bets. This can help to identify patterns and anomalies that may indicate odds manipulation. Sportsbooks can also work with sports leagues, law enforcement agencies, and other regulatory bodies to detect and prevent odds manipulation. This can include sharing information, reporting suspicious activity, and cooperating with investigations. For example, some sports leagues have integrity departments that are responsible for investigating and addressing any suspicions of odds manipulation. In addition, sportsbooks can implement a number of measures to prevent odds manipulation. These can include setting limits on the amount of money that can be wagered on a particular outcome, requiring identification and verification of bettors, and monitoring for suspicious activity on the part of employees. To be successful in preventing odds manipulation, sportsbooks must have a comprehensive and multifaceted approach. This means constantly monitoring and analyzing betting patterns, monitoring for unusual movements in the odds, using data analytics, working with sports leagues, law enforcement agencies, and other regulatory bodies, and implementing measures to prevent manipulation. The Poisson model for detecting odds manipulation. The Poisson model can be used to detect odds manipulation in sports by analyzing the number of events that occurred during a sporting event, such as goals scored in a soccer match or runs scored in a baseball game. The Poisson model assumes that the number of events that occur in a given period of time or space follows a Poisson distribution, and it can be used to make predictions about future events. When using the Poisson model to detect odds manipulation in sports, the first step is to gather data on the number of events that have occurred in past games or matches. This data is then used to calculate the average number of events that occur in a given period of time or space, also known as the rate parameter. Once the rate parameter has been calculated, the Poisson model can be used to predict the number of events that are likely to occur in future games or matches. If the number of events that actually occur in a future game or match deviates significantly from the predicted number of events, it may be an indication of odds manipulation. For example, let's say that in the past 10 soccer matches, the average number of goals scored per match was 2.5. Using the Poisson model, we can predict that in the next match, there is a high likelihood of 2 or 3 goals being scored. However, if in that match 6 goals are scored, it could be an indication that odds manipulation has occurred. Additionally, the Poisson model can be used in conjunction with other methods to detect odds manipulation. For example, by monitoring and analyzing betting patterns, sportsbooks can detect unusual or suspicious activity, such as a sudden influx of bets on a particular outcome, or a large number of bets placed on the same outcome from a single location. It is also important to note that the Poisson model should not be used as the sole method for detecting odds manipulation, as it has some limitations. The Poisson model assumes that the events are independent of one another, and that the occurrence of one event does not affect the probability of another event occurring. In practice, this assumption may not hold true, and the model may not be able to accurately predict the number of events that occur in a given period of time or space.